Welcome to the Pre-Calculus 11 lesson on solving rational equations. And let's just get warmed up by solving some equations we've seen before. Remember that to solve one of these equations means to find all values of x that make the equation true. Okay, and the way we do that is quite familiar. In the first one, let's move all the x's to the right side. We can do this by subtracting 2x from both sides, and at the same time let's move all of the numbers to the left side, so let's add 4 to both sides here. So we end up with 6 equals x. Done. Perfect. Let's make sure that makes our original equation true. So we end up with 12 plus 2 equals 18 minus 4. So we get 14 equals 14. True. Perfect. So x equals 6 is a solution to that equation. Okay, next one. Remember that 3 is the same as 3 over 1. 7 is the same as 7 over 1. And if we can find the lowest common denominator here, which quite obviously is 4, and now we just need to multiply both sides by the lowest common denominator to get rid of that 4 on the bottom. So multiply that by 4, multiply that by 4. If you like, you can think about it as 4 over 1. So we end up with 4 over 1 times x over 4 plus 4 over 1 times 3 over 1 equals 7 times 4 is just 28, of course. Okay, and here we have 4 over 4 is 1, so we have just x plus 12 equals 28. Subtract 12 from both sides, and we end up with x equals 16. Give it a quick check. 16 over 4 plus 3 equals 7. Of course, 16 over 4 is just 4, so 4 plus 3 equals 7. Correct. And let's just draw a line down there. Separate things off. Again, 13 is the same as 13 over 1. Lowest common denominator here is going to be 3 times 4, or 12. So we want to multiply both sides by 12 times 12. So we get 12 over 1 times m over 3 plus 12 over 1 times 3m over 1 equals 13 times 12 is 156. 12 over 3 is the same as 4 over 1, so that gives us 4m plus 36m. Oops, that was over 4. So 12 over 4 is 3 over 1. That's 9m equals 156. Collect like terms. We get 13m equals 156. Divide by both sides by 13, and we end up with m equals 12. Throw that into our original. 12 over 3 plus 3 times 12 over 4 should equal 13. 12 over 3 is 4. 12 over 4 is the same as 3 over 1, so we got 4 plus 9 equals 13, and it's true. Perfect. Alright, so let's have a look at some of our grade 11 level rational equations here. And notice we're going to start them out exactly the same as we did the adding and subtracting questions yesterday. We'll start with our non-permissibles. X can't be 0, or else we'll end up with division by 0. And we also want to find our lowest common denominator, which in this case is going to be 10x. And then, different than what we did yesterday, we're going to do what we did up top and multiply both sides by 10x. Which is of course the same as 10x over 1. So over here, we're going to multiply that 10x over 1 through. So we get 10x over 1 times 1 over 2x minus 10x over 1 times 2 over 5 equals 10x over 10x equals 1 because x can't be 0. Alright, let's look over here now. We've got x over x equals 1 because x can't be 0. And we've also got 10 over 2 is the same as 5 over 1. So that's just going to be 5 minus, and over here we've got 10 over 5 is just 2. So 2 times 2 is 4x equals 1. And now we're back to questions we're used to seeing. Subtract 5 from both sides, we get negative 4x equals negative 4. Divide both sides by negative 4, x equals 1. Okay, and let's just verify that this actually makes our original equation true. Also notice that we should have a check here and make sure we're not wasting our time, because if our answer would have been 0, or if our possible solution would have been 0, then we would have had no solution, because x can't be 0. Alright, so let's throw 1 in here, see what we get. 1 over 2 times 1 minus 2 over 5 equals 1 over 10 times 1. So we get half minus 2 over 5 equals 1 over 10. Get a common denominator, that gives us 5 over 10 minus 4 over 10 equals 1 over 10, which is true. And question B is almost exactly the same. We'll start out by saying that x can't be 0, so we don't end up with a division by 0. And 6 is the same as 6 over 1, so our lowest common denominator is just going to be x squared. Now we multiply both sides by x squared over 1, which is of course the same as x squared. When I multiply that through the brackets, I get x squared over 1 times 5 over x plus x squared over 1 times 6 over x squared equals 6 times x squared is just 6x squared. X squared over x is the same as x over 1, and x squared over x squared equals 1, and notice those are both because x can't be 0. So we end up with x times 5 is 5x. 6 times 1 over 1 is just 6, so 5x plus 6 equals 6x squared. Alright, let's get everything on the same side as the x squared. So minus 5x from both sides, and minus 6 from both sides. So we know we have 0 on the left equals 6x squared minus 5x minus 6. I'm going to factor that, and I'm going to get 2x minus 3 times 3x plus 2. So notice that now 2x minus 3 can equal 0, or 3x plus 2 can equal 0. Down here we're going to add 3 to both sides. Divide by 2. X equals 3 over 2. Or subtract 2 from both sides. 3x equals negative 2, divide by 3. X equals negative 2/3. Alright, now we have to verify our solutions. To make sure that our checks aren't harder than the question, I'm going to let you guys use decimals on these. So let's have a look here. Let's plug 3 over 2 into our original equation. So we end up with 5 over 3 over 2. And that's plus 6 over 3 over 2 squared. And that should equal 6. And if you punch that into your calculator, you should get 3.3 repeater plus 2.6 repeater equals 6, which is true. And let's have a look at our other solution. 5 over negative 2 over 3 plus 6 over negative 2 over 3 squared should equal 6. And in this case we get negative 7.5 plus 13.5 should equal 6, which it does. And now let's have a look at question 2. Notice it's a little bit more difficult, but the principles are still the same. First thing we should do is throw brackets on these bottom guys here to remind ourselves that they are factors and that we can't just bust them up and start canceling things top and bottom out of them. Alright, so we'll start out by saying that x can't be negative 2 or 3 because that will cause division by 0. And then we need to find our lowest common denominator. Okay, notice in this case the best we can do is just x plus 2 times x minus 3. So let's multiply both sides by that. So there's x plus 2 times x minus 3 times our left side. I put brackets on that top negative 3 so you don't get confused and think it might be a minus 3. Okay, so notice, because x can't be negative 2, x plus 2 over x plus 2 will be 1 over 1. And x minus 3 over x minus 3 will be 1 over 1 because x can't equal 3. And now we have to multiply this negative 3 through there and this 2x through that set of brackets. So we get negative 3x plus 9 equals 2x squared plus 4x. And again, let's get everything on the same side as the x squared. So plus 3x minus 9 minus 9. So we get 0 equals 2x squared plus 7x minus 9. And again, we need to factor this. So we end up with 0 equals 2x plus 9 times x minus 1. Which means that 2x plus 9 equals 0, or x minus 1 equals 0. Over here, we subtract 9 from both sides. 2x equals negative 9, divide by 2, x equals negative 9 over 2, or add 1 to both sides, x equals 1. So these are our two possibilities. Check up at the top. Neither of those is going to cause division by 0. So let's give them some quick checks here. First one, we've got negative 3 over negative 9 over 2 plus 2 should equal 2 times negative 9 over 2 all over negative 9 over 2 minus 3. Punch those into your calculator and you should get 1.2 equals 1.2. So our first solution works out. The second one, we got negative 3 over 1 plus 2. Oops, don't need that bracket there. Equals 2 times 1 over 1 minus 3. So that's negative 3 over 3 equals 2 over negative 2, or negative 1 equals negative 1. Good. Okay, let's have a look at question B now. B is actually really similar to A, but a bit easier. I would recommend that if you're working through this for the first time, pause the video, try B, and then listen to what I've done. Okay, same as usual. Let's throw our brackets on first so we don't get messed up. And then our non-permissible values, x can't be 1 or 5 because that will cause division by 0. And same as on the last question, our lowest common denominator is just going to be our two denominators multiplied together. So x minus 5 times x minus 1. So let's multiply both sides by those common denominators. Over 1. Okay, and again, x minus 5 over x minus 5 is the same as 1 over 1 because x can't be 5. And x minus 1 over x minus 1 equals 1 over 1 because x can't be 1. Okay, notice here we're going to have to do some super rainbowing to put those two together. And this x is going to have to get multiplied into there. So over here we'll end up with x squared plus x minus 2 equals x squared minus 5x. Let's move everything over to the left. We'll subtract x squared from both sides and add 5x to both sides. And in this case we end up with 6x minus 2 equals 0. Squareds are gone. Life is easy. Add 2 to both sides. 6x equals 2, divide by 6, x equals 1 over 3. Let's fire that into the original, make sure it makes it true. So we get 1/3 plus 2 over 1/3 minus 5 should equal 1/3 over 1/3 minus 1. Fire that into the calculator and you should get negative 0.5 equals negative 0.5. Okay, part C is again slightly different, but we should have no problems dealing with this x squared minus 9 because we've seen that before already. First thing we want to do is factor that. I'll just do it over here on the right. X squared minus 9 equals x plus 3 times x minus 3. So we know that x can't equal 3 or negative 3, and our lowest common denominator is going to turn out to be x plus 3 times x minus 3. Okay, so let's multiply both sides by that lowest common denominator. And notice we know that x squared minus 9 is x plus 3 times x minus 3. And that's going to equal and on our left side now, x plus 3 over x plus 3 will equal 1 because x can't be negative 3. X minus 3 over x minus 3 will be 1 because x can't equal 3. And on the right, x minus 3 over x minus 3 will equal 1 because x can't be 3. So notice over here on the left, nice and easy, we've just got 7x minus 15. And on the right, we're going to have to expand that, double rainbow it. And that will give us x squared plus x minus 6. Let's move everything over to the right. Minus 7x plus 15. 0 equals x squared minus 6x plus 9. Factored, that's going to give us x minus 3 times x minus 3. So x is going to equal 3. Okay. Notice that if x equals 3, we're going to have a division by 0. So we have to throw out x equals 3. We end up with no solution. no value of x will make this equation true. And notice that if you didn't look up at the non-permissibles, you'd still find out that it's not going to work by trying to plug x in. If I were to go 7 times 3 minus 15 all over 3 squared minus 9, already we can see that that's going to be 0, which means things aren't going to work, and 3 won't be a solution then.